Hi, I was having a random moment thinking about my last relationship, and I thought that I would make this video about that. We often blame ourselves when relationships don't go the way we intended, but most times we are meeting a representation of someone who are, or should I say, who really is misrepresenting themselves, them true selves, and which leaves us once again hurt, time wasted, and among other things, you just don't understand why people, it can be a man or a woman, feel the need to come into a friendship, relationship situation, knowing their true intent is to be the polar opposite of everything that they said they were. So I met this guy through a mutual friend, and I thought, wow, this must be the guy. This is him. That I have found the guy. And I say that because I was very taken back by his way of speaking. He didn't sound like most guys that I've talked to who vocabulary is very limited, and I say that to say not that he, said huge words or whatever, but he enunciated his words and he spoke with great character. And so he had begun already to tell me these stories that I assume, were true, because you don't go into a situation or you meet someone assuming that they will create a whole life that really doesn't exist. And you find that out later, unfortunately. But usually when you meet someone and you exchange stories or tell things about yourself, you usually assume that for the most part it's true. You're taught through experience that you never go into meeting someone and talking about your past. And I say that because most times that gives them the platform to use whatever you tell them as their personal thing that they can now start to create what they need to capture your heart. If you say, well, my last girlfriend, she never cooked and she was always nagging, you meet a female who said, I don't do that. Like, oh, I cook all the time and I know how to cook. I'm a great cook and I never nag. And of course, what you don't realize that, females do it too. Females will, whatever problem you had in your relationship, this female will say she's the opposite of everything that you've encountered wrong. And that's just the way it goes on both ends most of the time. And I have to say most and not all, because, people get upset and when you don't put the disclaimer out there. But know that whatever I'm talking, if I forget to say it, I apologize. But I do not mean everyone. You cannot say everyone do all things. So not all men are bad, not all women are bad, and not, vice versa. But there are men and women that represent each, what you call it, the stigma that is out. So yeah, they are men who will never commit, and there are women who will utilize you just for what you can do for them. So, and that's just life. It happens. But back on subject, me. Yes, I met this guy, and like I said, he was I mean, let me tell you, I thought that he was the one that God had sent to me. You know, again, met him through a mutual friend, so I already had that trust factor of her knowing him, opposed to not knowing someone, anything about them, or having any insight on the type of person that they may be. So we talked on the phone for a while, and we video chatted for a while, and he would tell me things, you know, how about his upbringing, what type of father he was, what type of man he is inside a relationship, and how he grew up, and, you know, his morals and values. And I was so intrigued, and he told me these war stories, you know, about this changed man. You know, he used to, you know, be out there in the streets, and he made the wrong choices, and, you know, with that came a lot of experience of who the man he is today. So I thought. He told me that he knew, well, he was a black belt, and not only he was a black belt, but he was really into martial arts heavy, and he spoke Japanese, and he, like, the things he told me, as I look back on them now, I realize, what was I thinking not to question some of the tales that I was told from his past. I mean, after a while I started realizing they sounded more like movies. But again, because I can say that I was open and not assuming that this person would be creating something that did not exist ever, that came along a year or so after things revealed. Because again, my mother used to always say, no lie long enough shall stand, and everything that is done in the dark will come out into the light. And though she used to say that to us as children, when you become an adult and you go through things, you realize that it's a lot of times you don't have to go digging. It will resurface in time on its own without your help. So for all the women who have intuition, that is something that you should pay attention to. Red flags, pay attention to pattern changes, pay attention to the things that he does or she does that are consistent in the beginning, and then all of a sudden, as you know, it changes the more time goes by. And again, I was thinking about this because I was really hurt at the way that the relationship went. Not only did we had moved in together, and we had, you know, he had connected with my children, and we were talking about building a life together, and I was more supportive of him, I should say, than he was of I and my career path, and I was there. When I say there for him, even at his weakest and most lost times, later on to find out that person that was really in front of me would show himself in the worst way. He verbally abused me. He did not claim me in public, and again, you know, I didn't find these things out. Like, I was believing the story that, you know, hey, you know, I want our business to be our business, and, you know, don't worry about it. This is why I'm not changing my status, and we're taking our time, and we're, you know, getting to know each other, and we're doing this the right way. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm letting him in. He, you know, he's meeting my mom, and da-da-da. And again, I haven't been spoke of to your mother or family or whatever. And I'm like, okay. So as time went on, he, you know, started working, And before the chain of events that occurred that I will get to in just a moment, let me go back to the verbal abuse. He was relentless in his way of speaking to me. And take in mind now, he was not like that at the beginning. He never showed me any signs of being as cruel as he turned out to be. Again, I had him around my children, and they got to know him. And once we moved in together, he said that I deceived him, that because I'm not a small girl, I'm not a small woman, and he told me that I disgusted him because of my physical weight, and I was unattractive, and he was ashamed of me. He only invited a couple friends over, co-workers over, but come to find out, he had told these people that this story that I was living with him and he was helping me out and I was his roommate. And I'm thinking, wow, roommate. All right. So you are having a relationship. You spend a year. You exchange, finances, and I'm your roommate. I had no idea. And then as he started working, he started seeing a young lady at his job. And I guess she was oblivious to me not really being a roommate, but that's fine. Come to find out, it was things like not coming home straight from work and coming home 12 o'clock at night, or Fridays I'm starting not to see you at all until Sunday, maybe. And I started saying, like, wait a minute, hold up. He would get upset and tell me that it's just my insecurities, and I'm insecure, and that's unattractive. And how dare you think that I am not a man? I'm a one-woman man, and I put all this into you, and I just told you to be patient with me, and I need time to show my feelings. I've been through a lot, so I don't. And I'm thinking, okay, but as you're telling me to wait for you to open up, now you're saying this. You're now spending time with this other woman that you're just saying that I must be imagining you're not coming home, and you lying about your whereabouts. Well, I'm going to tell you, yes, I can be honest to say that he didn't realize that for the majority of the time when I start having that intuition, his phone was being tracked. His text messages, his picture messages, his GPS location. And so while he was on the phone with me telling me I'm over my guy friend's house and I'm sick, I see that he's really 15 minutes around the corner at her house, texting her because, yeah, he is sick, but she's getting him medicine, and he doesn't know that I know this. He doesn't know that I know the things that he's saying to her, the good mornings, and I'm in the studio when he's really in front of the TV watching movies with me. He picks up his phone, I pick up my phone because I can see what he's texting. And I couldn't say anything because I couldn't bust my bubble. Like, I had to, it was hurtful. And my girlfriend actually was the one who told me about this app at the time that let me find out all these things. And I learned so much. I learned so much about myself during this time, and I've learned that we can't blame ourselves for falling for someone who misrepresented themselves and who knew that everything they were not true. And what I mean by that, in my personal case, I found out through friends and family that his upbringing was not true. The things that he said he'd been through and gone through and done were not true. I found out his military background and his work background were not true. I found out that the women that he claimed that mistreated him so wrongly, and they were crazy, not him. Well, I found this person who made me look in the mirror and told me to my face, he said, "Look at you. I mean, do you really think that you are good enough to stand beside me? Look at you." And literally, I'm the person that's waking up at 4 a.m., ironing your clothes, fixing your coffee, but I'm your roommate that you are horrified by because you said that I'm not small enough. And I'm not pretty enough to be in the likes of you. And it got to the point that once he took my money and went on a long distance trip with her and did not come back for 2 weeks on December 31st of that following, that later that year, I packed up everything that he owned and sent him on his way. Now, in the midst of still feeling like I'm in love though, and I don't want this to not work, but he's clearly into someone else, literally. I mean, I said, okay. Now, I can't go into all the other details of when he finally revealed to me his true, well, in my opinion, his underlining intents with her, because in her mind, she won. In her mind, I got him. In her mind, who are you? She was younger, so she was like, "You're old, you're 40, like, you should, come on, like, be over him." Hello, do I know you? Have you ever met me? Have you ever taken the time to say, why is this woman acting this way or saying these things? And because I have realized some people need to see for themselves, they deserve to. The things that he told me about her when it came out, the things that he told me that what his intentions were, I realized I have to let her realize and find that out on her own. Because me just telling her will just seem like, how females are. You're just saying that. You're lying. Forget the fact that I have it written in black and white. Even saying you were going to come back to me. All of that. I let it go. You gain so much strength through the BS, let me tell you. And you never think you're going to get over the person that you're involved with at the time that you have invested in financially, emotionally, spiritually, everything. And little do you know that time is the only thing that helps. Time and great friends and someone who will listen, because I have a couple of sisters who listened to me and was there for me at that time. From 5 a.m. when he wasn't coming home to me crying on the phone. And I appreciate them for not abandoning me during my time of need emotionally. But I would just want to let you know, do not be blaming yourself for the evil and cruel things that guys do, that females do. Because when you have true intent within yourself, and you know that you went into this situation honestly, you know that everything you've given was from the heart, that you have to honor yourself in that. You have to know that you will not ever walk away from that relationship at the end regretful. because you did not go into it lying. You did not go into it to use for your own benefit. And the fact that this guy that I was with, all he cared about was himself and his marijuana and his child. And don't get me wrong, I don't care about you caring about your child, because that's first and foremost. It's God and then your children, and that's how it goes. But when everything you do is to smoke and get high, and Lord, the stories I can tell you, it would be too long for me to record to tell you that story. But when you realize that all those other priorities that they have did not ever include you, you can't be upset, because again, stay true. It is so easy to change your person. Now, don't get me wrong. Do be wiser. Do go into every situation smarter than you were before. Be more aware. Pay attention to all the signs that you see. Because the reason you went through all of those things is for the person that God has for you. You will be able to detect. You'll be able to see. Your eyes will be open. And you will be more aware of the person that is standing in front of you. And that's a great thing. Had you not had all these bad, dead-end relationships that took you through all of these things, you will be left wide open. And let me tell you, the person that I am today, I am still, I'm like happy. Like, I felt like a burden was lifted off of my shoulders once I finally ended it all. And I was happy when the pain finally left, and I realized that I was not the negative energy in this relationship. Oh, I'm sorry. I keep on forgetting. I was the roommate that, the roommate. That's what I titled this one, the roommate. So just in short, and I know I don't know if I made any sense at all, but again, I was just doing my own thinking. If you're in a relationship where you see that you are hidden, you are the things and the care that you're giving isn't being reciprocated, if you see that they have changed tremendously from the time you met to the time you call it serious, 6 months, a year later, you need to start reevaluating and questioning and having discussion and communicating to see if you're all on the same page. Because 9 times out of 10, if you're having a gut feeling, you're probably right. I'm not going to lie. If you're having a gut feeling, you're probably right. But I won't take up any more of your time. And I will be touching bases on a little of this in a different light, on a different day, more than likely. But I just wanted to say that you are loved by God first. And you are a beautiful person. You matter. And do not allow the evil that's out here to taint who you are. That's bottom line. So, until next time, I am